sexy people of the internet. It is Dave. It's Duncan. Back from Metal Epidemic for another album review. For this review, Duncan and I have been checking out the new album from Minneapolis chaotic hardcore punks, Murf. The band's new album, Already Dead, will be released on June 7th via Learning Curve Records. So, Murf is drummer Jeffrey Truckenmiller, bassist vocalist Evan Clark, guitarists Hunter Ness and Tom DeVoe, and vocalist Dan Hofstrom. Founded in 2014 after the death of Dan's brother and suicide of his father, he struck up a friendship in Tom, his housemate, resident recording engineer and former founder of South Dakota legends Rifflord. Initially seeking to write a police protest song, they quickly formed a bond around the film RoboCop. As you do.
I mean, it's now fitting into place. Yep. Murf.
I'll give that a hand. Also,
we can't just quote RoboCop for 20 minutes as much as the inside of my being wants to. Oh, fuck you, Dave.
Can you fly, buddy?
I'll buy that for $1. Let's just fucking move on here. We're going to be here forever.
RoboCop, also horror films, WWE wrestling, and hardcore music. Yeah. They then invited Hunter, Jeff, and Evan to round out a full band complete with a Fast and Furious set for what they thought was one show. That performance snowballed into 7 years of chaotic...
That performance has never ended. The band are still on stage. Occasionally engineers come in and record songs that they're playing from that continuous loop, and that makes their albums.
7 years, though, of chaotic, cathartic, and theatrical experiences involving fake blood, horror movie props, absurd costumes, cult-like audience participation. These feverish performances have earned them a reputation as a live act not to be missed. We have had the privilege of performing with such legends as C.H.E.W, Dillinger 4, The Spits, Froggy Fresh, King Can, and The Barbecue Show, Marijuana Death Squads, Sweet Jap, Child Bite, Gustav, and other legends in the independent circuit. Great band names. 2 albums.
You can tell that we're Scottish, because we've heard of none of them.
No. 2 albums, and 1 7-inch later, the group is ready to unveil their latest album, Already Dead. This body represents Murf at their darkest, most cynical and apocalyptic. They are thrilled to unleash the chaos with Learning Curve Records. Already Dead seeks to break the thick walls of PTSD, re-examining the past with more matured eyes, yet still standing in the awe at the intensity and sanity of life. It addresses surviving a pandemic, living in the city that sparked a worldwide discussion of police brutality, the bittersweet feelings of nostalgia with those who are no longer here, and commenting on hyper-commercialism. Despite being their hardest work to date, at the core, there's always an element of some fun in the morbid chaos. Only one just needs to be low enough to find the humour in it all. The album was recorded by Jeff Markovich at The Hideaway, mixed and mastered by Adam Tucker at Signature Tone, and mixed by the band's Tom DeVoe at DeVoe Manor. Okay, so this one that came through from our buddy Justin Pearson, who we have spoke about in the past. His releases, his Blu-ray we also reviewed.
Let's just put it this way: he has a keen eye for music, and I kind of love it. It also follows a theme. Like when he sends you something through, I'm telling you right now, it's about as raw as skin in your knee, and pouring some lovely lemon juice on that wind.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's always that way when you listen to anything that he puts forward, you kind of feel like the enamel on your teeth has been taken off the hard way.
Yeah, there's an authenticity to it for sure. And I mean, the thing is, there's a lot of like punk and hardcore out there that's fairly kind of by the book, and that's cool. Like everyone's has got their style, but then there are bands that kind of take the genre and deliver it with that authenticity and that kind of honesty. And Murf are one of those bands. When I hit play on the first track, 5 Iron. I just was like, I could almost like imagine myself in like a small sweaty room.
Oh yeah,
like straight away, just like watching these guys like up close and personal. There was a bit of a kind of like just an instant connection with this. And bands like this, to be honest, I'm a huge fan of like punk and hardcore, and nothing gets me more excited than bands that just kind of lay it all out. Like they don't hold back one bit. It's like kind of all or nothing. And Already Dead is that album. This is like honest, it's chaotic, it's intense, very raw in places, and never really kind of lets up at all. They just like go hard and fast for like it's about 37 minutes, something like that.
yeah.
But what I kind of dug about this was they don't stay in in the same lane or use the same kind of formula like on every track. It's an album that does give you a lot more than you'd expect as it kind of goes on. There's a kind of unpredictability to the music on Already Dead that like the guitar work is often quite kind of disjointed. It's very twisty. You never really feel like you're getting the same thing twice from this band. In some places it's like the furthest thing from formulaic you can get, but then in others it's like there's a weird kind of hookiness to it that kind of catches your ear every now and again. Tracks like My Neighbor, it's got kind of like quite a reoccurring kind of motif and the riffs that make it kind of catchy musically. Same with Slaughtered Lamb. It's got like almost like a frantic like indie punk Every Time I Die kind of feel to it. Little bits of the album also reminded me of Steak, the Belgian band, but imagine them like much faster and a bit more kind of punky. Reminded me, I had that kind of feel about it. It's quite kind of jarring at times, but there is stuff on here that is just kind of all out mayhem, and you kind of like maybe need like a few listens to kind of fully like break it down almost. And there is like it's hardcore punk at the roots of it, but like there's moments where like it's touching on like the fringes of like grindcore almost, like it's almost kind of dipping its toe in there. Maybe not into the like Pig Destroyer blast beats and grind riffs territory, but it's not like a million miles away either. The tracks are like fairly short, to the point, so like re-listens are pretty easy on this one, and the tracks are fairly packed. Tracks like Pump Your Guts are just like completely full on, very kind of like wiry sounding, frenzied, and then you know it's like it's over and done. Fortunately, they do have tracks that they do have a bit more kind of space in them. So there's tracks that are quite kind of intense and quite reckless, but then there's other moments where the guitars will kind of pull back ever so slightly, and stick to something a bit more kind of simplistic, a bit more kind of bar chord type. Frank's Hand is a good example of that, where they kind of let the bass take more of a lead on that track, and it almost does kind of let you kind of catch your breath on the album. Vocally, this is very cool. I really dug this. It's not like the most like melodic kind of vocal that you're going to get on this, but there's something about them that you can't help but be kind of fascinated by. The vocalist Dan Hofstrom, it kind of sounds like he is recording the last thing he'll ever record, and has to just kind of leave it all out there. It's quite visceral at times, quite extreme. His voice has that kind of that natural kind of break in it, that kind of crackle, and he does often push it to like as far as it will go. I think it's there's a track called Recall, where you can hear it in his voice, that kind of sizzle in his throat. But it's awesome. Like it just adds to the intensity of the whole album. But like as hard hitting as this is, like musically, vocally, thematically, as the press release said, it also has like a kind of dark sense of humor about it, which I kind of liked. They drop in the occasional movie sample. So you've got a little sample on Attention Shoppers, which kind of made me laugh, which is pretty cool. And there's like a kind of playfulness to it as well. Like you can tell, although they might be like screaming about really important topics, they are also kind of having fun at the same time. It's not all like kind of doom and gloom on this one. There's little moments where the riffs get a little bit quirkier, and it kind of adds something a little bit more lighthearted to it. The lead parts on like Gauntlet, for example, are still quite wild, but they've got like a almost more upbeat vibe to them. Not a lot I would kind of grumble about on this, to be honest. I did really enjoy it. I think it might be it's not a long album at 37 minutes, but I felt like it might be slightly long. The last track is just over 6 minutes, I think. So it does bump up the runtime slightly. I think around the 30-minute mark would have probably been ideal. A couple of tracks maybe just kind of blended in a little bit too much, but fairly kind of small gripes with this one. I think finally the production they've gone for on Already Dead is perfectly suited to the tone of the album. Like it's very gritty. It's dark. It comes across with that kind of hardcore punk authenticity where it's not been polished up too much, and you can feel that kind of live energy from the band. As I said earlier, I'd love to see this live. I imagine the energy is through the roof with these guys on stage. It would be something really cool to see up close and personal. So I enjoyed this one. What did you think?
Yeah, this is cool. I mean, throw a couple of horror references in there, you're gonna have me smiling. Like as soon as the album came in, and once I don't read the press statement, so I don't know the detail that Dave does, but you put Slaughtered Lamb on there, I'm thinking straight away American Werewolf in London. It opens with Hills, and I'm like, all right, like we're this isn't just even a nod or an homage. This is just full in, and there's other things in there through some of the song titles that kind of now with context make sense. Have a Nice Day. That's fucking Mankind's from the wrestling. That's his catchphrase from back when I was a kid. That's where you would say, have a nice day. So that's kind of cool to see. Red shirts, I'm assuming is a reference to Star Trek, because if you wore a red shirt, you usually died on that show. Although in saying that, Red Shirts has, I think it's a spoken word sample at the beginning that sounds a little bit like Peter Lorre, who, for filmic fans, was the character actor from like the 20s right through maybe the 50s or 60s. He used to do, he's probably more commonly known as doing the voice of like Igor in cartoons. He talks like these, like that kind of really creepy, weird looking guy. It sounded like that. I would be happy for the band to come back and tell me I'm wrong and it's actually just one of them talking. But it sounded like a more restrained Peter Lorre. Knowing their horror influences, maybe it is. The thing I loved about this album is its diversity. I mean, it has a unified production sound, and certainly that kind of, that kind of Mentos in a Coca-Cola bottle with a lid shut, giving it to someone and opening it in front of their face and just watching them just be jazzed upon, hard with fizzy fluid. This is kind of what this is. It's like it has such an energy about it that it's really, even when the band do break into those moments of space, which are cleverly placed throughout the album. I mean, you're about the halfway mark before you get the first song that's over 4 minutes long, but then the band revisit that a couple of times before it closes out. The third to last track is just under 6 minutes, and the last track is just over 6 minutes. In between that is a variety of songs that barely scratch 2 minutes, but it kind of works for them. They'll mix everything from pure visceral hardcore punk to almost kind of surfer rock to rockabilly. There's like loads of different takes in it, but with that kind of Murf sheen on it, which just makes it very volatile. And that's the way I would describe this as a sound overall. This is a volatile sounding album. At any moment, you feel like a string could snap, a snare drum could be poked through, or a vocalist could lose his voice. And I kind of love that a bit. It's dangerous to listen to. You kind of feel like you're being a wee bit dangerous by hitting play on it. On the second listen, I actually started to appreciate more the composition of the album as a whole. And that's where I realised that certain tracks where on my first listen, I might not be able to differentiate between the tracks themselves because of that volatility. On second listens, there would be an element added in, specifically those things where there would be a little rockabilly hook or a kind of surfer rock drum kind of tom work thing where I'd be like, all right, it's totally a different song. And by third listen through, I kind of agree with you that I feel it maybe is a tad too long. But in saying that, I don't necessarily know what to chop out, because I actually found myself really gravitating and enjoying all the stuff here. The guitar work is sharp. What I love about the guitar work as well is they're not synced up. This is about as live recorded gets, which is a theme with a couple of the releases we're going to be doing tonight. You can physically hear one guitar stop and the other one kind of ring out just at like a half a second longer than the other one, especially on those bits where you go into notes like, and one will kick in slightly earlier than the other, and they've not went to fix that, nor should they with this genre. The rawer the better. vocally, this is fucking great. This guy has got, like you say, he pushes the kind of fry in his vocal right to the very edge. But what I love about him is when he takes that kind of screamy tone out and becomes like a kind of shouty. That's where the kind of Keith Buckley, hot damn era, Every Time I Die, or even early Cancer Bat starts to like fizzle through into his voice, where you get there is notes to it, there is melody to it, but it's kind of spoken word and shouty. It really, really works, and it adds a bit of depth throughout the album, breaks up tracks as well. Overall, I think it sounds concise, punchy, and to the point. Granted, I think it's maybe a tad too long for what it's actually aiming to do. I think the band's personality rips out on almost every single song. And I love the aesthetic about it. I have not an idea of what these guys look like, but I like from listening to it, I could tell props on stage. You could just get like there's a kind of gwari feel about, like you just don't know what you're going to get. And I kind of love that about bands that do this sort of stuff in their music. It's very easy to slip into a more formulaic approach to how to perform your albums, or kind of toe a record label line of trying to create something which has unified scope and delivers, a great concept or whatever. There's also a time and a place for a band just letting loose for 35 minutes, and that's what Already Dead is for Murf. It's just as fun as the way I would describe it, but like painful fun all the way through it from start to finish, as oxymoronic as that sounds. I had a blast with this. I thought it was really, really, really good.
Nice. Final thing, scores for Already Dead by Murf. This is like, it's fiery, it's passionate, it's honest, and it's delivered in a way that makes you want to go and see this band live, which I would happily do if they come to Scotland at any point. So for me, I enjoyed this. I'm going to go 4 out of 5 on this one. What about yourself?
Twinsies, it's a 4 from me. Yeah, I had a lot of fun with this. I thought it was really, really, really good, and it's scrapped. Couple of albums we've done recently go a bit long, a bit complex, and all the rest. This hit me just at the right week, because I was like, I just need something that just like grabs me by the testicles and pulls me onto the floor, and that's kind of what this movie does. And I'm there for it. So nice. 4.
Cool. Murf and Already Dead, out on June 7th on Learning Curve Records. Links to the band below and to the pre-order. Have a look, check out, have a listen, see what you think. Let us know in the comments below. That is the review. Thank you for checking out. We'll be back with another review very soon, but until then, take care. Speak to you soon.
Bye, everyone.